Right there it tells you that Ishmael was going to be a wild man. Now we know that Ishmael is the father of the Arabs today. If you look that up on Google, they'll tell you that. The Arabs know that. Everybody knows that. One of the prophecies about him is that he was going to be a wild man. And the Arabs are the only people on the planet Earth that'll strap a bomb up on themselves and go into a mall and blow themselves up. They're the only people on the planet that'll do that. Why? Because the prophecy on him is that he was going to be a wild man. And we can see that he's wild, all right? It says, and verse 13, and she called the name of the Lord Yahweh that spake unto her, Thou God seest me. For she said, Have I also looked after him that seeth me? Wherefore the well was called Bir Laharoi. Behold, it is between Kadesh and Bered. And Hagar bare Abram a son, and Abram called his son's name, which Hagar bare Ishmael. And Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bare Ishmael to Abram. So, okay, so that's the story of his son Abram. All right, he was the daughter of Salah. He was the son of the bondwoman. All right, of her handmaid, of Sarah's handmaid. All right. So from there we're going to go to Genesis the 17th chapter. Now I'm reading that so you can get an understanding, because in the New Testament it talks about this, all right? If you don't know these stories right here in the first book of the Bible, then there's no way you can understand what's going on in the New Testament, all right? So from there we're going to go to Genesis the 17th chapter. I'm going to start at verse 1. It says, and when Abram was 90 years old and 9, so when he was 99 years old, it says, Yahweh appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the Almighty God. Walk before me and be thou perfect. And I will make my covenant between me and thee, and I will multiply thee exceedingly. And Abram fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. So we see the promises that the Lord is making to Abram right here. You see the way the Lord is dealing with them, all right? He's not dealing with everybody on the planet this way, okay? It says, Neither shall thy name be any more called Abram, by thy name shall be Abraham. So this is when the Lord changed his name from Abram to Abraham, all right? It says, For a father of many nations have I made thee. It says, And I will make thee exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee, and thy seed after thee in their generations, for an everlasting covenant. It says, To be a God unto thee, and to thy seed after thee. Verse 8. It says, And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. So you see right there, the Lord's making a covenant with Abraham. He's not dealing with the entire world the exact same way, as you can see, all right? So that's something that you have to keep in mind. But he keeps saying over and over again, I'm going to give this land to Abraham and his seed forever. And this is an everlasting covenant. So the question is, what seed is it talking about? Because we know that it just said, we know that his seed right now is Ishmael, Salah. All right, so we got to keep reading to figure out who these promises are going to. All right, so let me jump down to the 15th chapter of this, to the 15th verse of the 17th chapter. This is Genesis chapter 17, verse 15. It says, And God said unto Abram, As for Sarai thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall be her name. So right there. So look, we just read the Lord changed Abram's name from Abram to Abraham. Now we're reading that he's changing his wife's name from Sarai to Sarah, all right? And God said unto Abraham, As for Sarai thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall her name be. Verse 16, And I will bless her and give thee a son also. And I will bless her and give thee a son also of her. I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her, all right? Verse 17, it says, Then Abram fell upon his face and laughed, and said in his heart, Shall a child be unto him that is 100 years old, and shall Sarah that is 90 years old bear, all right? So Abraham, he doesn't believe that he's going to have a child at 100 years old. He doesn't believe that his wife is going to have a child at 90 years old either. You remember, she was just upset because she couldn't have a kid, so she told him to go into Hagar, all right? But now the Lord's telling her, look, Sarah, your wife, she's going to have a baby too at 90 years old, and she's going to be the mother of many nations also, all right? So let's say verse 18. It says, And Abram said, let me read 17 again. This is Genesis 17 and 17. It says, Then Abram fell upon his face and laughed, and said in his heart, Shall a child be born? Shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? And Sarah, that is 90 years old, bare. And Abraham said unto God, oh, that Ishmael might live before thee. Because remember, he had a son named Ishmael. He doesn't believe that he's going to have another son, so he's asking the Lord to bless his son Ishmael. All right? Listen to what the Lord says to him. All right? So remember, we just read about Ishmael being born. All right? It says, verse 19, and God said, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac. So remember, we're talking about the fathers of the promise, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So now we're reading about Isaac, all right? The Lord's promised him he's going to have another son named Isaac when he's 100 years old, excuse me. It says, and God says, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. Now look what the Lord tells him about Ishmael. It says, and as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him, and I will make him fruitful, and I will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. So this guy Ishmael, the Lord said he was going to bless him, and he made him a great nation. What nation is he today? He's the nation of the Arabs. They come from Ishmael. According to the Bible, they are the Ishmaelites of the Bible. And like I said, you can go to Google and look it up. The whole world knows this. This is not a secret. This is common knowledge. The Ishmaelites are the Arabs today. All right. So the Lord said, 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. It says, but my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time next year. And he left off talking with him, and God went up from Abraham. So right there, Ishmael, whoever Ishmael's people are, even if they're not the Arabs, even if you say that they're not, it just said he was going to make Ishmael a great nation of people. So whatever nation of people that is on the planet Earth today, they are not included in this covenant that the Lord just said he was going to make with Isaac, all right? What's up, Bob? What's up with you, boy? what's good with you, man? You know, same old trying to teach it, man. Okay, so from there, let's go to Genesis, the 21st chapter, all right? It just said that he was going to establish a covenant with Isaac, and Isaac was going to be born when Abraham was 100 years old, all right? So this is Genesis, the 21st chapter. I'm going to start at verse 1, all right? It says, and the Lord visited Sarah, and as he had said, the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken. What did the Lord say? He said Sarah was going to have a child next year when she was 90 years old. So right here, the Lord is confirming that. He's making his word good. He's doing exactly what he said he was going to do, all right? It says, for Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time which God had spoken to him. Verse 3, and Abraham called the name of his son that was born unto him, whom Sarah bare to him, Isaac, all right? So this is the birth of Isaac right here. I'm gonna keep going to verse 6. It says, and Abraham circumcised his son Isaac, being 8 days old, and as God commanded him. Verse 5, and Abraham was 100 years old. Remember, Abraham laughed at the Lord. He didn't believe he was going to have a child when he was 100, right? It says, and Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born unto him. And Sarah said, God has made me laugh, so that all that hear will laugh with me, all right? So basically, that's what the name Isaac means. It means laughter, because Abraham laughed at the Lord when he told him he was going to have a kid. The Lord told him, you're going to have a kid, you're going to name him Isaac. When you look up Isaac, that's what the word means. It means laughter, all right? So like I said, we're just going to go through this real quick because I want to get an understanding of who Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are. So when you read the Bible, when you keep seeing the Lord, the God of our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you understand where it's coming from, all right? Like I said, if you don't go to the beginning of the Bible, if you don't go to the Old Testament and understand what's going on here, there's absolutely no way that you can go to the New Testament and tell me that you know what's going on there. Like I said, you can't go to a movie an hour into the movie and sit down and start talking to me about it like you know what's going on. You just missed the whole first half of the movie, all right? So from there, we're going to go to Salah. We're going to go to Genesis, the 22nd chapter, all right? Now, understand what's going on. Like I said, all the people on the planet are there that God made. But the story